The Xbox 360 didn't have a ton of exclusives compared to its competition, the Wii and the PS3, but it did have a fair share of exclusives, and a lot of them were damn good. You had some odd ones like, Kinect games. They were fun when they worked, but everybody knows their Halos and their Gears of Warses and, and their Forzas. But I want to talk about a couple of games that are exclusive or exclusive, quote unquote, on console. They might have came out on PC, but so I want to talk about 4 games / 5 games that were exclusive to the Xbox 360 that I feel don't get enough love. They're not necessarily underrated or quote unquote hidden gems, but I just don't hear people talk about them too much. And so I just do a video talking about them. You might be familiar with Prey, the game that came out on PS4 and Xbox One, which was like a alien invasion hide and go seek type game, like where there were these alien things that you had to try and find. I didn't play it for very long, so I didn't get it. I just didn't click with me. But that's actually the second game in the Prey series, because there was another one from 2006 called Prey. Same name, different game. And the one that came out on PS4 and Xbox One was initially supposed to be a sequel, but then it was one of those in development hell type games. But we're not talking about that one. We're talking about this one. I love this game because it is a first person shooter, like at its core. But what makes it so fun or interesting in my eyes anyway is how much the game fucks with you. And I'm not like, you get like abducted onto this alien ship, and they have different technology that humans are familiar with. They have like these portals and these like magnetic floors and whatnot. And so throughout the game, you're like, the game is just fucking with you. You'll be walking on this magnetic floor, and you'll walk like up onto this wall, onto the ceiling, and then you'll be shooting enemies on the floor while you're on the ceiling. And you could go through a portal in another area, and you'll come out shrunk down in the same room, but on the other side. And it's just constantly throwing you through these loops, and you have so many instances where you're like, okay, where the fuck am I? What's going on? But that's what made it so interesting. It wasn't just about, blindly killing enemies. They wanted to use the environment to make it stand out from other first-person shooters. And it worked, but just nobody played it. Or, well, I shouldn't say nobody played it, but like nobody talks about it. It deserves some kind of HD remaster. Well, it was HD. It deserves some kind of remaster or something, because it was such a fun game, and it deserves another chance. And it's so disappointing that the only future it saw was a sequel that was nothing like it. Not that the other Prey game was bad, just wasn't the same. Full Auto for the 360. This is a car combat game, and I don't want to compare it to Twisted Metal because it's nothing like Twisted Metal. It is, at the end of the day, a racing game, but it gives you guns, and it has a variety of game modes. Your basic race mode, and then you have like elimination mode where you gotta try to eliminate all the other racers as you're going around the track. Just simple modes like that, nothing crazy. But it was just fun. It was a racing game with combat, and we don't get a lot of those too often. We get like Forzas and Gran Turismos and Mario Kart games. It's just a good racing game that didn't get enough attention. And it did have a sequel, Full Auto 2, that came out on the PS3 and the PSP. And it's not a like new quote unquote game. It's more of like just a deluxe version, because it's got all the same stuff in it, but they just like added more and kind of remixed it. And the Full Auto 2 was exclusive to the PS3 and PSP, whereas the first one was 360. But if you like car combat games, I would highly recommend it. It is fun. It's like just got destructible environments. You got different guns you can get and everything. It's simple and fun. Too Human. This game was developed by Silicon Knights, which they previously did Eternal Darkness for the GameCube, which, is a very much fan favorite game. Very different game, but anyways, this game wasn't like the greatest. It wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't great. It's like I think it's Norse mythology, but it takes place in like Norse mythology, and it's just an action game. You can use melee or guns, and it's kind of like a loot game, similar to like Destiny or Borderlands, where you're constantly killing enemies and getting new equipment, and you're trying to upgrade not just level up your character, but find better weapons and armor. And it's just kind of like a rinse and repeat thing. It's not like amazing, but it is a fairly solid game, and it is co-op. I think another game I could compare it to is like Gauntlet Legends or Dark Legacy. It's kind of in that same vein where it's just fighting hordes of enemies. It's this weird combination of Norse mythology and sci-fi. So, you have mythological stuff combined with like robotics and shit. It's really weird. And I remember the game being hyped up way back in the day, and it was one of those games that was overhyped and ultimately was a flop. And I don't remember the like details, but I think there was some kind of like lawsuit or something, and they had to pull the game from the shelves and recall them or something. I might be thinking of something else, but I feel it was this game. There was something to do with some copyright or something. But if you're looking for a solid like action hack and slash shooter game, like I recommend Too Human. You can't really go wrong with it. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst. You could definitely find worse. So the last two games I want to talk about, when I said 4/5 games at the beginning, 2 games in one. It's the Viva Pinata games. When you look at the games, they are obviously like aimed at a younger audience, from a visual point of view, but they can get pretty difficult later on. They're basically, I don't really want to compare them to like they're kind of in the same vein of like, Animal Crossing or The Sims, where they're just those like chill games where you just sit there and you're doing your thing. You don't have to worry about killing enemies or having a time limit or anything. You're just doing your own thing, and it can easily get addictive. You have this garden, and you got to try to fix it up to bring piñatas in. So the first thing you got to do is like fix up the soil, and then so you can plant grass. And then once you plant grass, the worms will start coming in, and then they'll like move in, quote unquote. At a certain point, you can start planting trees and other things. So after you get like 2 or 3 worms and you have a tree, then that'll attract birds. And it's just this like continuous cycle of you keep getting new things, and you have to meet requirements to get bigger and bigger piñatas in. But then you also have like the sour piñatas, which will come in and fuck up your garden. And you got to try to like convert them back to like normal piñatas so they're not like evil anymore. And eventually you'll get to like crazy piñatas like lions and unicorns and hippos. And you might have your garden one way, but if you want to get like a hippo, you gotta have like 80% of your garden water. You're like constantly having to redo your garden just for one stupid piñata. And then after you get it, then it's like, okay, I need to redo it for this piñata. It's a very fun and addicting game. You can be sitting there playing it. Next thing you know, like 2 hours go by. And the second game, it's more of the same. They just added more piñatas, and they added these like desert and snow sections, which whatever. And it does have 4-player online co-op. And it's fun, but I don't really think the sequel was needed. It was just more of the same at the end of the day. Feels more like they could have just added DLC to the first one and called it a day, but whatever. But they are backwards compatible on Xbox One, and they are included on Rare Replay. I would highly recommend those games if you like those chill, like Animal Crossing style games, because they are addictive. They might look stupid, but they're fun. Nothing's more fun in that game than taking your shovel and just beating the shit out of pinatas until they break. Are there any Xbox 360 exclusives that you play that people don't talk about? I mean, I know there's plenty out there, but these are just a couple of ones that I wanted to talk about. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.